Welcome back to our channel, where we honor the lives and legacies of those who left us too soon. Cancer has taken the lives of many remarkable women, including beloved American female celebrities who touched hearts with their talent, grace, and strength. Though they are no longer with us, their impact remains unforgettable. Today, we pay tribute to these inspiring women whose stories continue to move and inspire the world. Claudia Jennings, born Mary Eileen Chesterton on December 20, 1949, was an American actress and model who captivated audiences with her beauty, talent, and undeniable screen presence. She first gained national recognition as Playboy's Playmate of the Month in November 1969, later earning the prestigious title of Playmate of the Year in 1970. But her ambition stretched far beyond modeling, and she soon carved a niche for herself in the world of B-movies, becoming known as the Queen of B-movies. With her striking looks and a willingness to take on daring roles, she quickly became a cult favorite. But behind the glitz and glamour, Claudia's life was cut tragically short in a devastating car accident on October 3, 1979, at just 29 years old. Her final days were marked by a struggle to transition from the world of exploitation films to mainstream Hollywood. She had auditioned for a role on the massively popular show Charlie's Angels, hoping it would be her breakthrough into mainstream success. But the role ultimately went to someone else. This disappointment, along with the pressures of an industry that often typecast her, left her searching for stability. She was driving along the Pacific Coast Highway near Malibu when her car suddenly veered out of control. The collision was fatal, a brutal and abrupt end to a life filled with ambition, beauty, and unfulfilled potential. The news of her death sent shockwaves through Hollywood and her devoted fan base. Many wondered what could have been. Had she been given the right opportunities? Had she found the right role? Had fate been just a little kinder? But before her untimely passing, Claudia had already left a mark. Born in St. Paul, Minnesota, she moved frequently with her family, eventually settling in Evanston, Illinois, where she graduated high school in 1968. She started her journey as a receptionist at Playboy before stepping in front of the camera, a move that would change her life forever. Her captivating pictorials launched her into fame, and she soon transitioned into acting, starring in a string of action-packed, rebellious, and sometimes provocative films that made her a legend in the world of grindhouse cinema. Though she was often overlooked by Hollywood's elite, her impact on cult cinema was undeniable. But for all her fame, it was her tragic, untimely end that cemented her legacy. A young woman with dreams of stardom, taken too soon, leaving behind the haunting question of what more she could have achieved. Susan Strasberg, a name once synonymous with youthful promise and raw talent, lived a life that shone brilliantly on stage and screen, yet her final years were shadowed by illness. Born on May 22, 1938, into the world of theater royalty, Susan was destined for greatness, carrying the legacy of her father, the legendary acting coach Lee Strasberg. She captivated audiences from an early age, earning a Tony nomination at just 18 for her mesmerizing portrayal of Anne Frank on Broadway, a role that secured her place in history. She graced the covers of Life and Newsweek, a young woman on the verge of a groundbreaking career. But as the years passed, the once promising star found herself navigating an industry that often turns its back on the women it once adored. By the 1980s, Susan's career had shifted toward horror films and television roles, far from the dazzling beginnings that once hinted at an Oscar-worthy future. Despite this, she remained a strong presence, writing 2 best-selling memoirs that gave the world a glimpse into her friendships with icons like Marilyn Monroe and Richard Burton. But behind the stories of old Hollywood glamour, Susan was facing a battle of her own. In her later years, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, a relentless disease that slowly took its toll. Though she fought with remarkable resilience, the illness continued to spread, and her once commanding presence grew frailer. Those final days were painful, a stark contrast to the vivacious woman who once owned the stage. On January 21, 1999, at the age of 60, Susan Strasberg took her last breath in New York City, the very place where her journey began. The once celebrated actress, who had embodied the innocence and heartbreak of Anne Frank, now left the world after her own battle with an unrelenting disease. Her death was not the dramatic, headline-grabbing tragedy of some of her contemporaries, but rather a quiet, heartbreaking departure of a woman who had once held so much promise. Hollywood had long moved on, but those who knew her, those who cherished her work, mourned deeply. The industry may have turned away, but history never forgets. Susan Strasberg was more than just an actress. She was a force of nature, a symbol of youthful brilliance and the harsh realities of an unforgiving industry. Her legacy lingers in the echoes of her performances, in the pages of her books, and in the memories of those who knew her best. A talent that once burned so brightly, now resting in the silent halls of time. Peggy Lee, the iconic American singer and songwriter, was a voice like no other, sultry, smooth, and unforgettable. Born Norma Dolores Ekstrom on May 26, 1920, in Jamestown, North Dakota, her life was marked by hardship from an early age, losing her mother at just 4 years old and enduring a troubled childhood that only fueled her deep connection to music. She found solace in singing, starting out on local radio before rising to fame as the vocalist for Benny Goodman's big band, where her mesmerizing voice captivated the world. She didn't just sing. She poured her soul into every note, crafting a legacy that would span 7 decades. With over 1,100 recordings and more than 270 songs to her name, Peggy became the queen of American pop music, blending jazz, blues, and pop into something uniquely her own. Her career was filled with timeless hits like Fever, Is That All There Is, and Why Don't You Do Right, songs that cemented her status as one of the most influential female artists of all time. But behind the glamour, Peggy's later years were fraught with declining health. She suffered multiple strokes, battled diabetes, and endured complications that left her often confined to a wheelchair, yet she never stopped performing. Even as her body failed her, her voice remained resilient, full of the same passion that had enchanted audiences for decades. In her final days, she fought bravely against the ailments that had plagued her, determined to hold on to the music that had defined her life. But on January 21, 2002, at the age of 81, Peggy Lee took her last breath, passing away from complications of diabetes and a heart attack. The world lost not just a singer, but a legend, one whose voice had soundtracked the highs and lows of generations. She was cremated, her ashes resting beneath a simple yet elegant bench-style monument at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles, a quiet tribute to a woman whose presence had been anything but. Her contributions to music earned her a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, induction into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and a place in the hearts of millions. More than 2 decades after her passing, her music still lingers in the air, timeless and hauntingly beautiful. She was not just a singer. She was a storyteller, a pioneer, and a woman who turned pain into art, forever etching her name into the annals of musical history. Peggy Lee may be gone, but her voice, soft, smoky, and filled with longing, will never fade away. Lisa Robin Kelly was a talented actress known for her role as Laurie Foreman on That '70s Show. But behind the bright lights of Hollywood, she struggled with demons that ultimately led to her tragic passing. Born on March 5, 1970, in Southington, Connecticut, Lisa had dreams of making it big in the entertainment industry. And after earning a degree from the theater school at DePaul University, she seemed well on her way. She made her television debut in 1992 and soon landed roles in popular shows like The X-Files and Charmed. But it was her role as the feisty and mischievous Laurie Foreman that made her a household name. Despite her success, Lisa was privately battling addiction, a struggle that only intensified after suffering a devastating miscarriage. The pain drove her to alcohol abuse, leading her to walk away from That '70s Show and, in many ways, from the life she once knew. As her addiction took hold, her career fell apart, and she found herself entangled in legal troubles, with multiple arrests for DUI and domestic disputes. Each headline told a story of a woman spiraling further out of control, but Lisa never stopped trying to turn her life around. In August 2013, she checked into a rehab facility in Altadena, California, determined to get clean, hopeful for a new beginning. But just days later, on August 15, 2013, Lisa was found dead in her sleep at the facility. The official cause was ruled as accidental multiple drug intoxication. Her manager had spoken to her just days before, noting her optimism and determination to recover. But tragically, she lost her battle before she could reclaim her life. Lisa Robin Kelly's death was more than just another Hollywood tragedy. It was the heartbreaking end of a life filled with potential, talent, and dreams that never had the chance to fully blossom. She was cremated, her ashes given to family and friends, leaving behind a legacy of laughter and sorrow. Her story is a painful reminder of the destructive power of addiction, how it can consume even the brightest of stars, and how, despite attempts to heal, some battles prove too difficult to win. Lisa will always be remembered not just for her role on that 70s show, but for the warmth, humor, and talent that made her shine, even as darkness loomed over her final days. Edie Adams, a gifted actress, comedian, and singer, left behind a legacy filled with laughter, music, and resilience. But her final days were marked by a heartbreaking struggle with illness. She passed away on October 15, 2008, in Los Angeles at the age of 81, after battling cancer and pneumonia. The vibrant performer, known for her glamorous presence and comedic charm, spent her last days surrounded by family, her health deteriorating as she fought a battle she ultimately could not win. Her passing was a sorrowful moment, not just for those who loved her personally, but for the countless fans who had been entertained by her wit, beauty, and talent for decades. Adams first rose to prominence in the 1950s, earning a Tony Award for her role in the Broadway musical Lil Abner and gaining nationwide fame as the comedic partner of her husband, Ernie Kovacs. The two were a dynamic duo on television, and even after Kovacs's tragic death in a car accident in 1962, Adams carried on, proving her strength and determination by taking control of his archived work and paying off his extensive tax debts. She also became an iconic face of Muriel cigars, with her famous sultry invitation, "Why don't you pick one up and smoke it sometime?" But beyond the glitz and laughter, Adams' life was not without pain. She endured personal tragedies, including the devastating loss of her daughter Mia in a car accident in 1982. Through it all, she remained resilient, continuing to work in film, television, and business, founding beauty enterprises, and ensuring her late husband's comedic genius was preserved. Born Edith Elizabeth Inc. on April 16, 1927, in Kingston, Pennsylvania, she grew up with a love for music and the arts, studying at Juilliard in Columbia before finding her way into show business. Her talent for both operatic singing and comedy set her apart, making her a beloved presence in an era dominated by male comedians. But in the end, time and illness took their toll, and the woman who had once lit up stages with her humor and charm faded away. Her final resting place at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills places her beside her beloved Ernie and daughter Mia, a fitting tribute to a woman who dedicated her life to love, laughter, and perseverance. Edie Adams may be gone, but the echoes of her voice, her laughter, and her spirit live on in the recordings, the memories, and the impact she left behind in the entertainment world. Jill Clayburgh was a name that defined strength, grace, and raw talent. A woman who took Hollywood by storm with her unforgettable performances, but carried a personal battle that few ever knew. She passed away on November 5, 2010, at 66, after quietly fighting chronic lymphocytic leukemia for more than 2 decades. She never let the world see her pain, continuing to work, smile, and inspire even as the illness drained her body. Her final days were spent at home in Lakeville, Connecticut, surrounded by her family, the people she loved most. The disease had been a long, silent struggle, one that she had kept out of the public eye, not wanting sympathy, not wanting to be seen as anything other than the powerhouse actress she had always been. But as the years passed, the illness took its toll, making even the simplest tasks exhausting, until finally, her body could take no more. It was a heartbreaking end for a woman who had once lit up screens with her vibrant energy. Born on April 30, 1944, in New York City, Jill grew up in privilege, but found solace in acting rather than the life of wealth and status her family had envisioned. She attended the prestigious Burleigh School before studying at Sarah Lawrence College, where she initially explored religion, philosophy, and literature before realizing her true calling, performing. She trained at HB Studio and soon found herself immersed in the world of theater, a world that would lead her to meet Al Pacino, with whom she shared a passionate, 5-year relationship. Her rise in Hollywood was not instant, but once she broke through, she was unstoppable. Her role in An Unmarried Woman, 1978, was a revelation, portraying a woman finding her strength after heartbreak, a performance so powerful it earned her an Academy Award nomination and the Cannes Film Festival Award for Best Actress. She followed it up with Starting Over, 1979, securing another Oscar nomination, proving she was not just a fleeting sensation, but a force to be reckoned with. She continued to captivate audiences in films like La Luna and First Monday in October, bringing intelligence and depth to every role. But as Hollywood often does, it moved on, making way for newer faces, leaving behind one of its brightest stars. Yet Jill never stopped acting, transitioning seamlessly to television and theater, delivering performances that reminded the world of her immense talent. Even as her health declined, she remained devoted to her craft, appearing in films and TV shows, never allowing her illness to define her. Her passing left a void in the industry, a loss of not just a remarkable actress, but a woman who had redefined what it meant to be strong, independent, and fearless on screen. She was a mother, a wife, a trailblazer, and above all, an artist who gave everything to her roles, even as she fought a battle no one could see. Kelly Preston, a beloved actress known for her radiant presence on screen, passed away on July 12, 2020, at the age of 57, after a quiet but devastating 2-year battle with breast cancer. She kept her diagnosis private, enduring treatments at the MD Anderson Cancer Center and other medical facilities while continuing to be a devoted wife, mother, and performer. Her death was announced in a heartbreaking Instagram post by her husband, John Travolta, who expressed gratitude for the doctors and loved ones who supported her in her fight. Kelly's final days were spent at home in Clearwater, Florida, surrounded by family, but her illness had drained her strength, and after years of fighting, her body could no longer hold on. It was a devastating loss not only for her family, but also for the countless fans who admired her talent and kindness. Born Kelly Kamalaleua Smith on October 13, 1962, in Honolulu, Hawaii, she faced early tragedy when her father drowned when she was just 4 years old. Raised by her mother and stepfather, she lived in Iraq and Australia before returning to the US to pursue her education and acting dreams. Her breakthrough came in the 1980s, starring in films like Mischief, Twins, and Jerry Maguire, where she played the fierce and unforgettable fiancée of Tom Cruise's character. Her career spanned over 60 film and TV roles, but beyond Hollywood, she was known for her warm personality and love for her family. She met John Travolta in 1987, and they married in 1991, building a life together with their 3 children, Jet, Ella Blue, and Benjamin. Tragedy struck in 2009 when their eldest son, Jet, died at just 16 after suffering a fatal seizure while on vacation in the Bahamas. His passing shattered Kelly, but she found strength in her family and faith. Even as she faced her own battle with cancer, she remained strong for her children and continued to cherish every moment with them. Her final public appearance was at the 2018 premiere of Gotti, where she proudly stood by Travolta's side, radiating beauty and grace despite already fighting the illness in secret. In her final film, Off the Rails, released posthumously in 2021, she gave audiences one last glimpse of her talent, leaving behind a legacy of love, resilience, and unforgettable performances. Her loss is immeasurable, but the warmth she brought to the world remains in the memories of those who knew her and the performances that will forever keep her spirit alive. Kirstie Alley, the vibrant and talented actress who lit up television and film screens for decades, tragically passed away on December 5, 2022, at the age of 71. The news of her sudden death shocked fans worldwide, and the cause was devastating. she had been privately battling stage 4 colon cancer, a diagnosis that came just a few months before she passed. Her children, True and Lily Parker, revealed that the disease was only discovered shortly before her final days. And despite receiving treatment at Moffitt Cancer Center in Florida, the illness progressed rapidly. Kirstie, who had always been full of life and energy, was taken from the world far too soon, leaving behind a legacy of laughter, talent, and unforgettable performances. In her last days, she was surrounded by her closest family, who described her as fighting bravely with the same strength and determination that had defined her life and career. Born on January 12, 1951, in Wichita, Kansas, Kirstie had always been a force of nature. She grew up with dreams far beyond her small-town roots, eventually leaving college and moving to Los Angeles to pursue her passions. Her journey to stardom wasn't immediate. She started as an interior designer and even appeared as a contestant on game shows before landing her breakthrough role as Lieutenant Saavik in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, 1982. But it was in 1987, when she joined the cast of Cheers as the fiery and unforgettable Rebecca Howe, that she truly became a household name. Her performance earned her an Emmy and a Golden Globe, cementing her as one of television's brightest stars. From there, she continued to shine in films like Look Who's Talking alongside John Travolta, and later in shows like Veronica's Closet and Fat Actress, often playing characters with the same sharp wit and bold presence she carried in real life. But behind the glamorous Hollywood career, Kirstie faced struggles, including public battles with weight, media scrutiny, and personal hardships. She was open about her struggles with addiction in her younger years and credited Scientology for helping her overcome them. In 1981, tragedy struck when her mother was killed in a car accident caused by a drunk driver, an event that deeply affected her. Still, Kirstie was known for her resilience. Whether it was in her personal life, her career, or her public battles with criticism, she never backed down. She remained in the public eye well into her later years, appearing on reality shows like Dancing with the Stars and Celebrity Big Brother, where her humor and authenticity continued to win over audiences. Even as she aged, she never lost her spark. But in the end, it was cancer that took her away too soon, a cruel and silent illness that robbed the world of a true icon. Her sudden passing served as a heartbreaking reminder of how fragile life can be. John Travolta, one of her closest friends, paid tribute to her, saying, "Kirstie was one of the most special relationships I've ever had. I love you, Kirstie. I know we will see each other again." She was more than just a star. She was a mother, a fighter, a woman who lived life on her own terms, unapologetically and fiercely. Her loss is deeply felt, but her legacy, the laughter she brought, the characters she brought to life, and the joy she gave to millions will never be forgotten. Their time was brief, but their legacy will never fade. They may be gone, but they will always be remembered.